Alright, so hi out there in the YouTube world. This is going to be a video on the Nakshatra Vishakha, which is number 16. Yeah, number 16. And it is the cusp sign going from Libra into Scorpio. And we have to remember what Libra is all about and what Scorpio is all about. Like, the nakshatras really specify and zoom in to detail, and especially provide information on cusp signs. Because if you're like a Libra Virgo, if you're a Libra Scorpio cusp, then you're like, what exactly do I fall on? But if you fall into this sign, then it's actually a combination of the traits of both signs. So, we have to remember that Libra is an air sign, so it's all about communication, or at least like higher-minded thinking, and because air, and it's ruled by Venus, which is all about beauty and like the physicality and touch and sensuality, harmony, the good side of life, and what's the last part? Cardinal. So if there's a cardinal, fixed, and mutable, well, cardinal means that of the three, they have the ability of like initiation energy, or the ability to like make something happen or take the initiative step. That's as a cardinal sign for Libra. And with Scorpio, it's water, which is all emotional, and like everyone's emotional, but I just mean this falls into the sign placement. And it's fixed and ruled by Mars, so all that stuff. But to specify, when you combine when you get Libra combined with Scorpio as a cusp sign in this nakshatra, then you have to remember that in the Vedic texts, it's specified by saying that the class is ranked as an outcast. So that's typically because they have kind of like a hermit-y nature. They might not show that, but they might come off, like when they're in social groups, as very extroverted. Not always, but they're going to have that kind of hermity nature where when it at least comes from their perspective or from their inner mind, especially if this is your moon sign, then, like, if it's not your moon sign, then it's less applicable. Still applicable, but if it's your moon, you should understand what I'm saying when I say that you kind of don't feel like it's called the outcast class because they didn't know what class to put it in, because it wasn't like any of the other classes. And it typically has kind of a not going with the flow kind of thing, or of the world. They don't fit into the world of our Maya, or the world of illusions, which can be because they can see through the illusions, and they can kind of maybe get puzzled at how people get so worked up into the illusions, which the world is a stage. You can change it at instant notice if you choose to. It's all in like your mindset, right? The nature is demon, so it might have a little bit of a more negative connotation to that. There is good and bad in the nakshatra wheel, and if you have that as your moon sign, it just might mean that you might see the negative side of life a little more, or you might be a little more prone to not necessarily taking advantage of people, but being more self-oriented and not necessarily about the collectiveness. It's about like self-gain, which is fine, like, you know, survival of the fittest. Like, the reason the nakshatra wheel has so many different facets is because it gives birth to a world with this like intense plethora of like individuality. So if we all thought the same, it'd be so boring, right? So don't think it's bad, like, it's just your nature. The ruler is Jupiter, so that rules over expansion and abundance. Can be often it's the teacher, but it can often be seen as a little juvenile or too happy. Like, it doesn't necessarily see the serious side to life. It likes to just kind of party, and, you know, it represents that higher knowledge, but at the same time kind of juvenile knowledge, because the application of it can be seen in not so much of a serious light, such as Saturn, kind of the opposite. Its symbol is a gateway or a decorative arch. So like, you know what I mean? And that can represent like passage, or like moving from one phase in your life to another, going, transitioning from different stages of development or evolution in your consciousness, because it's like it represents a doorway. So that's its main symbol. Its animal is the male tiger, and this is for sexual compatibility. If you look at the animal sign of the nakshatra, the symbol and the element and the ruling god, those are very important. The animals are a little bit, I don't know, I find a little more arbitrary, but for compatibility between nakshatra signs, if you're looking for to know your compatibility, then you use the animal sign, because that shows kind of like a summary of their animal nature, which would be best for physical partnership. So it is a male tiger, so that kind of also gives a bit of perspective on its nature. When you include all of the previous aforementioned things, then it gives a lot more detail, because it's like a collage of psychological factors that we're dealing with here. But the animal nature is more specified for compatibility between nakshatras, so don't specify on one little detail. It's to all be taken into account. Its element is fire. So fire is like passion, energy, initiation, creativity, drive. It's that, okay? So remember that for its element. The myths are, its name literally translates to forked or two-branched. So like a tree that is double-branched. Or it can go as a poison vessel, which was named under Radha, the delightful. And it also represents the Indra, the chief of the gods, and Agni, god of fire. So, to reference to this, a lot of things could be seen under Vishakha as like a burning passion or a burning grief. But whatever they kind of feel is going to be intense, whether it be good or bad. And Indra, the chief of gods, kind of shows that they have that a bit of nobility to them, where they like to guide people in some ways and show them proper ways to go in life. Main ideas associated with this nakshatra are achievement of purpose, which is irrespective of the means employed. So what that means is that basically the ends justify the means. Like whatever they do in the present moment, as long as it's to fulfill something in a future goal, no matter whatever the repercussions are along the way, it's worth it as long as you accomplish the main goal. So, they are very high pursuit of self-interest, and they are associated with others solely to achieve their own end. So a lot of the times they can be very manipulative, this is going into the Scorpio energy, which rules over secrets and things hidden and sex. So, and when we have Libra, which is the god of beauty and abundance and harmony, well, they have a way of painting things however they kind of want to in that moment, because they have the qualities of both. Yes, they have a variety of different enterprises, so they can have a whole bunch of different interests. They aren't necessarily, as long as in this lifetime it can bring them further up in kind of the world of the Maya and the illusion. They want high goals, and they have high standards for themselves. Achievement of obedience to religion and its teachings. So they're very goal-oriented, and they have very strong willpower, but because they have kind of this inner sense of emptiness, they can kind of cling to religious views because it gives them something solid. It gives them something that, because inside they kind of have that emptiness. So it's really good to have something in the world that they can cement or concrete themselves to. But at the same time, you have to remember that can also instill a lot of the religious dogmas in them, which can cause self-defeat. So remember that if you're a Vishakha, okay? Yeah, so they are also more concerned with things that they do not have, So if they have a whole bunch of stuff, like, they're going to be very prone to kind of jealousy of things that other people have that they do not. Because they're like, why don't I have that? Like, I don't even want that, but they have it, so why don't I have it? You know? Even though they might have everything that they want, or everything that they need, that won't be prone, that they won't see that. They will see it as being half empty, not half full. They are very concerned with winning and coming out on top. So very, like, competitive in nature. They lack the direction to know what they want to obtain due to the emptiness that I mentioned earlier. They will stay the course, meaning if they have set an objective or a goal for themselves, they will stay to it. Like, they, regardless of even if internally they might have changed their mind, no, they're going to stick it through until things are complete. This might be because Jupiter, with expansion and abundance, they want to see things through. If it is on a lower energy level, they can become a lot more focused on money and physical things. Like, very obsessed with, like, the world, and not necessarily their own self-growth and happiness. And they tend to make things overly complicated. And that's, you know, because Libra, it has, like, the indecision. Like, Libra is very known for being indecisive. And Scorpio being, like, intense. Well, if you're intensely over-indecisive, then that's, like, right? And then you combine that with Jupiter, the god of expansion and abundance, with being overly indecisive and intense, well, you get Vishakha. And, yeah, their body features are very sharp. They're heavy partying people. And once they have obtained something that they wanted, they, like, cherish it by partying. And, like, music and just, you know, having a good time. So, yeah, I hope that this was a good summary. And we'll see you in number 17, which is Anuradha. So, and then we'll be all in Scorpio. And have moved out of the Libra energy. And then, like, because this Vishakha is the cusp sign between. So in the next one, on 17, then on Anuradha, then we're going to be completely in Scorpio energy. So, mwah, and I'll see you in that one. Bye.